to everyone who is joining us now. We are going to give a couple of minutes to allow most people to attend. We had several registrations to this webinar, so we're really happy that it caught your attention. And we have our 10 presenters here already waiting for us to give them the word to present their incredible research. So let's wait maybe a couple of minutes more, like 1 or 2 minutes more. We have 72 attendees, but they're growing, so we'll leave a bit of time to grow more.
Yes, if you'd like, while we're waiting, you can write in the chat where you're from and what your relationship with OWSD is.
Uh, Berta, Cecilia, we just promoted you to panelists because for some reason you were not included between the panelists. So we saw that you were attending, and now we have promoted you to panelists. So you should be able to speak as soon as you will be called to present your research. Can we just have like a super quick check if you can hear us and if we can hear you, Berta? Berta, can you unmute yourself and let us know if you are there? Okay, looks like it's not working, but anyway, we will call you when it's your turn, and you are free to present your research because you were like shortlisted between the panelists who are able to present the research. So as soon as we call you, you are free to present. Otherwise, we will have to move to the next presenter. Maybe we will try to call you a couple of times more. Okay. Yeah, we have 100 people. Uh, oh, am I? Sorry. So, good morning again, everyone. Buenos días a todos. Para ustedes, porque para nosotras ya es tarde. Bon dia a todos. Et bonjour tout le monde. Pour nos amis d'Haïti. If there is anyone from Haiti speaking, thank you very much for attending this session. Welcome to the Latin America and the Caribbean region session of the Short Talks Big Impacts competition, which is presented to you by the Organization for Women in Science for the Developing World, which we call OWSD. We are really excited to have you here with us today to this new session of this competition. We had last week the first session of the competition for African participants, and this is going to be very exciting as well, with 10 incredible women scientists from the Latin American and the Caribbean region joining us to present their research. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I think I know many of you because my name is Giulia Signori, and I work mainly as the focal point for the national chapters activities here at OWSD, and also with the membership, as well as a bit in communications and outreach. And I'm here today with my colleague Erin Johnson. We are actually in the same room, but you see us from different computers. And she works both on fellowships and awards programs, as well as in communications as well here at the O Secretariat in Trieste, Italy. So, hello, Erin. You will hear from her as well, of course. So the reason we decided to host these competitions on the occasion of the International Day of Women and Girls in Science is because we know how critical it is to really communicate science clearly, especially when it comes to making a very complex research accessible to diverse audiences. Since we work with you every day through the programs, the national chapters, and the membership, we know how critical is the research that many of you are doing in your own countries, in your own regions, to solve some of the very big issues and challenges that affect the region and the world. But we know also that the ability to effectively communicate this research is sometimes as important as the research itself. Not only because it makes it more relatable to all the people around, but it really can help you to be able to communicate when you're trying to, for example, attract funding for the research or convince a policymaker that your research is important to solve a big issue. Um, or for example, if you're trying to gain public understanding for your work. Most of the times you are really faced with communicating your research outside of your research group or lab. You don't have so much long to present your research. You only have like a very short time, some minutes. And so you need to do what is sometimes referred to as the elevator pitch, which is a very short presentation that you need to be able to make in the time that you can share with the person in the elevator. So the idea this time is to try to give you an opportunity to really work on this presentation and communication skills in a very short time frame and to see how many people appreciate the importance and the relevance of your work towards solving global issues, towards understanding why it's important, what impacts does it have, and why should people in general care. So this is basically what we are here to do today. Over to Erin to explain a little bit more about how this is going to work in practical.
Thank you, Julia. And yes, we're really thrilled to see how many of you are here with us today. And I saw in the chat we have lots of people, not just from Latin America, but also many from Africa. And I saw even some from Asia, from Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, where I know it's probably quite late. So we're really, really excited that you joined us. And we had a really great turnout last week also for the Africa competition. So it's just really exciting to see how strong and enthusiastic our OST community is. And we received lots of applications for this competition from talented researchers in all the regions. And so we're very excited that you're all joining us to hear about the amazing work being done in science and in research across Latin America. So today there will be 10 women who will be presenting their research in just 3 minutes. And we know that it's really a challenge to talk about what are often very complex research topics in such a little time. But it really makes you focus on what matters and what difference does your research make in the world, and why should people care? So we encourage you in the audience to listen closely and consider how these presentations all connect to the global issues that affect all of us. Uh, and so here's how the session will run. So we're going to have a brief introduction to each presenter, and they will have each exactly 3 minutes to share their research with us. And we'll be keeping track of time with a timer. So after their 3 minutes is up, there will be a little music playing that I think everybody can hear, but for sure the presenters can hear. So when you hear that, you know it's time to stop. And as we already told the presenters, you can finish what you're saying. You don't need to firm stop right in the middle of a sentence, but we will be pretty strict on the time limit. And then after all the presentations have finished, the audience will have the chance to vote for your favorite presentation. So please, while you're listening to the presentations, keep in mind the criteria which we're judging the presentations on, which are clarity of the presentation, how much you were engaged in what the presenter was saying, and how well they communicated the global impact or local impact of their research. And we'll be using a poll that will be integrated in the webinar, so you should see that come up when the time comes. And you'll vote for only one presentation at the end. So we suggest that you take notes during the presentations so that you can remember who you liked the most. And we'll also show you a slide at the end with the names and the pictures of the presenters during the voting period. So it shouldn't be too difficult. So I hope everything is clear. And Julia, back to you to introduce our first presenter.
Sure, thank you very much. So we are ready to go ahead and get started with our presentations. Our lucky first presenter is Mev Dominguez Valentin. She is from Peru, well, Peru is a country where OWSD has a strong national chapter. We have 72 members who are gathered in the national chapter. As you know, to form a national chapter in one country, there need to be at least 20 members. And when these 20 members get together and decide to fund a chapter, they can submit their application to the OWSD Secretariat, and then it gets reviewed and approved, and then they have the opportunity to do a lot of networking and activities. So this first presenter is from Peru. The OWSD Peru National Chapter has been active for quite some years now. It's based in Lima. Mev Dominguez Valentin is going to present to us as the first presenter on advances in diagnosis of hereditary cancer in Latin America, which I think is going to be a very interesting topic for all of us, and also a topic that already presents itself as a topic of regional interest and relevance. So we'll put the timer up on the screen, so Mev will know how much she has left. We only started when you are speaking, so don't worry about trying to press unmute very fastly and so on. Good luck to the first presenter. Go ahead and unmute yourself, and the floor is yours, Mev.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. And I'm molecular biologist from Peru. I have done a PhD and a master in Brazil and a postdoc in Sweden and Norway. Currently, I'm working at the Institute for Cancer Research in Norway. And my research is about Lynch syndrome, that is the most common hereditary cancer syndrome. It's about 1 out of 279 persons can carry a pathogenic variant in one of the mismatched repair genes, which is about Lynch syndrome. Lynch syndrome is caused by the presence of mutation in one of these genes. And if you have one of these mutations, you have a high lifetime risk to develop not only colorectal cancer, but also gynecological cancer, urinary tract cancer, and other cancers. We have constructed some years ago the largest prospective Lynch syndrome database that is called PLSD. That the contribution from this database is that have provide personalized management and prevention strategy recommendation for Lynch syndrome patients based on the genetic information. We have showed that the genetic information can be translated to the clinical management and prevention for these patients. I'm coordinating the networking of Lynch syndrome in Latin America based on my master and PhD study that I have done in Brazil. Although I'm located in Europe, I'm making this collaboration started first at South America, and now we are growing in Latin America. During the last 10 years, we have published more than 20 articles where we described the profile of Lynch syndrome patients from Latin America, which is very different from Caucasian populations. We have provided unique genetic information from our patients from Latin America. Most of the countries from Latin America are participating in our Latin America Hereditary Tumor Group, LAGET, that we are coordinated. In addition to research, we are also having performing educational activities. We are doing webinars once per month where we provide information about different aspects from the Lynch syndrome, clinical aspect, surgical aspect, genetic aspect. And also my contribution to Latin America is to bring all the Latin American research to our international networking, European networking, North American networking. And also I'm promoting the exchange from Latin American students, mainly from Peru, to perform post-graduation studies in Europe or other Latin Americas. Therefore, we are open research opportunity to younger Latin America research and contribute to the development of the genetic epidemiology in Latin America. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mav. It was perfect timing. And thank you for breaking the ice and being the first presenter. And I think it was very, very impactful and interesting, your presentation. Especially, I think that there are going to be people very interested in these opportunities of exchange that you were talking about. So also to remind you that I'm not sure if we are going to have time to have a Q&A session, but still, like, we can forward some information after the session. And if you have questions, feel free to put them in the webinar chat, and maybe we can forward them to the presenters. And also, it's really interesting to know all the work that has to do with prevention, which I think is critical when talking about medical and public health topics. So thank you very much. We now proceed to our second presenter, who is Maria Alejandra Troncoso Jofre. Maria Alejandra is from Chile. I've had the pleasure to get to know her personally last year because Chile was the national chapter that hosted the first regional meeting of the Latin American and the Caribbean OWSD national chapters in Santiago. Although I know that Alejandra, who is the chair of the national chapter, is based in La Serena. However, she's been like very kind and flexible and helpful to help us organize this regional meeting, also together with the vice president of OWSD for Latin America and the Caribbean, who is Clancy Bonilla, who will also join us in speaking soon. So without further ado, I would like to ask Maria Alejandra to present her presentation on the long-term socio-ecological research in a biodiversity hotspot. So please let us know what this means.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you everyone who is attending this special event. I am currently in charge of the longest running ecological experiment in South America, which is located within the Fray Jorge National Park. So within Bosque Fray Jorge National Park, we are established since 1989, and as I said, it's the longest terrestrial ecological experiment in Chile. As a result of this experiment, we've come to understand the climatic and ecological components that govern the semi-arid matorral and that govern the semi-arid shrubland that is located within this area. This long-term socio-ecological research project is located 150 kilometers south of the Atacama Desert, and the Bosque Fray Jorge National Park is the nucleus of the World Biosphere Reserve that has its own name also. And Chile only has one very large and big hotspot, and we are located in the northernmost area of the biodiversity of Chile's biodiversity hotspot, which also harbors the highest endemism and also the highest threats to this area. So even that the park has been originally conceived as harboring what is left of the Chilean Bolivian rainforest, it's mostly covered in this matorral ecosystem, and it is a temperate, and it's providing a transition between the Atacama Desert and the temperate forest of central Chile. Contrary to what most people think, this diverse ecosystem is characterized by high endemism and by high threats. So back in 1989, Chile Chilean and North American researchers initiated this Fray Jorge long-term research experiment, and the scientific questions sought to determine the role of ecological interactions such as predation and competition of resources and the effects on populations, small mammals, and vegetation in the semi-arid scrub. With this goal in mind, they designed an ecological experiment that consisted of selectively excluding predators and rodents from the ecosystem with the use of fences and building very big cages to exclude the predators. Since then, we have regularly monitored for over 35 years, every month, the populations of rodents, vegetation, carnivores, insects, and invasive species such as hares and rabbits. After 35 years of study, we have found that the effects of predation and competition are minimal in comparison to the effects of climatic variation, in particularly extreme climatic events such as El Niño phenomenon and actually climate change. Sorry.
Super. Also very, very on time. Thank you very much. And thank you very much also for your presentation. And I really like the background. I think it was a very creative idea to put us in the field of what you were talking about, which is a bit hard to imagine, for example, from Trieste, where the winter is very chilly still, where we are in winter and everything. And so, going on with our next presenter, I would like to introduce you to Ana Rufina Herrera Soto. She's a presenter from Guatemala. We have three presenters from Guatemala. Guatemala is a very big national chapter here at OWSD. It's also a very active national chapter. It's one of the most active chapters that we have, and we've always had a very good experiences working with Guatemala. And the presentation that Ana is going to give is about her research, which is in coffee wastewater, evaluating an option to treat its pH level. And really, when I read the title, I really thought about the coffee that I had in Guatemala when I was there. And so it reminded me a bit of the coffee, but also I know that it's a very important topic because water, as we know, is an important issue, not only in Latin America, but it's a global issue as well. So I'm really curious about hearing this presentation, and I leave the floor to Anna.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Ana, and I work as a researcher for the Chemical Engineering School in the University of San Carlos in Guatemala. Everybody loves coffee, so let's talk a little bit about it. To get the coffee, we can use two methods. The dry method that only uses the heat from the sun to dry the coffee bean, and the wet method that uses water to classify, peel, and ferment the coffee. In Guatemala, the coffee is a very important cultural product. In fact, we are proud to say that it's one of the best coffees in the world. But to produce the coffee by the wet method, we use around 40 to 500 gallons of water to produce 100 pounds of coffee. So to produce this pound of coffee, I need to use about the water that can be contained in these two containers. So when working with the wet method, we get the coffee wastewater that you can see here and has a high content of organic matter, but also because of the fermentation has high levels of acidity and low levels of pH. So I worked in a research project to see if the use of activated carbon can reduce the presence of this acidity and raise the level of the pH. In the lab, we saw a rise in the pH level, but that we can prove statistically, but from the sanitary point of view, it wasn't high enough. So we have to keep working with this kind of wastewater. And it's important to us because that can give a better relationship between the coffee industry and the environment. Because in Guatemala, the coffee industry has a high relationship with the water resource from the country. So there is important to to search for methodology to treat this kind of wastewater to give help to one of the most important agro-industries in the country. So today we keep working with other researchers to see if we can test other methods, and we hope that in the future we are going to be able to share with you our results. So thank you so much for your attention. I'm hoping if you are in Latin America that you can have a nice cup of coffee today.
Thank you so much. I really wish I could. And it was very very inspiring, and I'm really hopeful that your research can give us this plus of like not only being able to taste a very good coffee from Guatemala, but also to make the most of the wastewater. And also congratulations for using these objects. It really put us in the right context. And so thank you very much. We are now going on with another person from Guatemala who is presenting. She is Natalia Ortiz Barrientos, who is going to present us a research that she is working to with our vice president from Latin America and the Caribbean, who is Clancy Bonilla. Since in this competition we were accepting presentations from just one person, because otherwise it would give a little bit of advantage to the people that can share the presentation, we decided to give the floor just to Natalia, but they actually applied together, so the research is a mutual research, let's say. And also Clancy, I don't know if you are showing your face, but we're always very happy to see you, and thank you very much for all the work that you're doing for the Latin hello for the Latin America host region. Like all this engagement is mostly thanks to you. So Natalia and Clancy are working on a research about knowledge management and the power of communication in Desgua as a social technology in Guatemala. So this is more towards the social sciences, which are also very important and increasingly important in the organization of OWSD. And so we are really excited to hear what Natalia is going to present to us. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Julia, and hello, everyone. I am thrilled to have this opportunity to share our research with you. My name is Natalia Ortiz. I am a sociologist from Guatemala, and this February, an article in which we co-authored with my colleagues Clesia Bonilla and Miguel Sakimush was published in the journal Frontiers in Science Communication. This article presents a community case study on inclusive access to scholarship in Guatemala. Did you know that to have access to higher education, it requires a range from $30,000 for a master's degree and over $100,000 for a doctorate degree. So this creates significant barriers for students all over the world. And then locally, higher education it has an impact in Guatemala. In our country's case, with nearly 18 million population and with just one national public university, the vast majority of Guatemalan families cannot afford such cost, which impacts the possibility to access higher education in the country. So our community case is focused on the Institute for the Development of Higher Education in Guatemala, known as INDESGUA, and how innovative communication strategies can make a significant difference in access to higher education. This nonprofit organization that was founded in 2007 and identified as social technology has helped marginalized groups gain access to information related to scholarships and other higher education opportunities. As many of you may know, Guatemala faces alarming levels of poverty and inequality, which creates substantial barriers to education, especially for rural youth, women, and indigenous communities in the country. So why is this community case important to understand social technologies? First, when we talk about knowledge management, INDESGUA has spent over 17 years developing comprehensive guides and resources to simplify the scholarship application process, making it more accessible and a straightforward experience. Second, INDESGUA effectively uses communication technology through social media and newsletters to reach a broader audience, not only in Guatemala, but across Latin America with up-to-date scholarship information. In addition, Indeswa provides personalized support, including coaching and application guidance, empowering students with confidence to succeed in its applications. So part of our findings is that since 2007, over 50% of scholarship recipients supported by Indeswa has been women, and 75% come from historically marginalized groups, reinforcing its commitment to inclusion and social justice. However, structural inequalities still limit widespread access to scholarship, which lead us to highlight that there is still significant work to ensure that everyone has equitable access to educational resources, not only in Guatemala, but globally. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Natalia. Thank you for presenting your research. And as I was saying, social sciences are increasingly relevant. And I know that Clancy also works a lot with the intersection between social sciences and pure sciences. I'm really glad to hear that you are making a lot of advancement and that your work is being recognized also in publications. So thank you very much for sharing it with us. I'm going to pass the floor to another presenter now, who is also from Peru, who is Karen Antonieta Espinosa Huertas. And I have to confess that I'm very curious to hear about her presentation as well, because she's going to talk about her work on a new bacterium, recombinant bacterium, aimed at advancing our understanding of Mycobacterium tuberculosis. As you can hear, I'm not I'm not a medical scientist, so I'm not really good at pronouncing these names, but I think that this research is particularly exciting because tuberculosis remains one of the world's deadliest infectious diseases. And so I'm really curious about like what are the innovative approaches to study it in order to contribute to better treatments and public health strategies. So thank you very much, Karen, and please let us know what's your research.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I want to start with a question. Is it possible to defeat an enemy you don't know? Many here will agree with me that knowing your opponent will give you an important advantage to confronting it. It also applies when the enemy is a bacterium. For that, some years ago, I began my research about Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Tuberculosis causes millions of deaths around the world. Also, even tuberculosis has been studied for several decades, and many antibiotics has been developed for it. This bacterium has evolved, and now we have many drug-resistant variants. Working with tuberculosis is still a challenge to date because it requires laboratories with high biosafety levels, and also culture bacterium in a lab is expensive, complex, and it requires a lot of time. So we must look for more affordable and safer alternatives to study processes that are important for tuberculosis survivors. Tuberculosis synthesizes all of proteins necessary for its reproduction and adaptation in a process called transcription, which is the principal target of current main drugs. In order to design new drugs and treat tuberculosis drug resistant, we need to understand how transcription works. In this context, I have designed a new bacterium, non-pathogenic, for studying transcription of tuberculosis. Now we can monitor transcription easily because this new bacterium produces fluorescence when tuberculosis transcription occurs. So we can measure it. This bacterium can be used for evaluate inhibitors, new drugs, and also we have already tested this bacterium in our lab, and now we are using it for better understand how is the regulation of tuberculosis transcription. I really would like that this new bacterium will be an important tool for the scientific community for deepen our understanding about tuberculosis and the drug-resistant variants. In this way, in the future, maybe we can be able for confronting tuberculosis. Thank you.
No, thank you, and thank you for making it accessible even to me, who I'm not an expert at all. I think it was very clear, and I'm really looking forward to knowing more, and thank you for your presentation. Now there's another presenter whose research title was very complicated to digest, and so I'm really curious about hearing the explanation as well, because Arisbeth Guadalupe Almeida Juarez from Mexico is going to present us about her research, who is an oligomeric study of catechol 1,2 deoxygenase from Pseudomonas frequens geome 2. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I want to start telling you, imagine a world that we can clean using environmental and nature tools. It sounds like a dream, right? But it's part of my job. My name is Elizabeth Almeida, and I study catechol 1,2 dioxygenase, an enzyme from a bacteria that is capable of growing in petroleum polluted spots in the Gulf of Mexico. This enzyme has a potential in bioremediation. This technique uses biological systems to break down contaminants. For example, aromatic compounds from OWSDs. My research focuses on how these enzymes affect its structure depending on the conditions in the environment. Due to the ability, we frequently freeze dry this protein, but unexpectedly, it affects the shape and the structure. So what happens if we alter the conditions for this protein? Does it affect the activity? Well, using different techniques, just like small angle ray scattering, site exclusion chromatography, we evaluate that this protein alters its quaternary structure, changing by dimers, tetramers, octamers, and even larger aggregates. Intensity lyophilization and high salt concentrations in media only affect its shape, but preserve its catalytic activity. Understanding this dynamic depending on the shape, but preserving its activity is interesting because we can this knowledge for cleanup efforts. You need to study more for applying beyond the lab. The significance of this research lies in the fact that pollution is a global crisis. When human activities affect our soils and waters, and traditional remediation processes are costly and harmful. The alternative with the type of catechol dioxygenases brings us an alternative that is a sustainable solution. Ultimately offering a more efficient and cost-effective environmental strategy. Furthermore, this research highlights that proteins are not static. They are dynamic, change, and adapt as sometimes surprise us. So, pairing the fundamentals of these techniques, we can use these proteins for cleanup strategies. This is a step toward harnessing the power of nature to clean global challenges, and also after all, what is the power of science if we're going to use it to create a better world? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Arisbeth. I think we had some moments when we didn't hear you so well, but I think that in spite of that, we managed to grasp better. At least myself, I'm speaking for myself. I understand. I understood a little bit better the extent of your research, in spite of the topic that was a bit hard to get from my perspective. Now from Colombia, who is another very active national chapter of OWSD, we have Xiomara Lopez Legarda, who is joining us to present straight from her laboratory. She's going to tell us about her research on the fungal biotechnology for food applications. We are all very curious to hear about it, and thank you very much for joining us from your lab, which gives us a little bit of a taste of your daily life as well. So thank you so much, and please go on with your presentation.
Hello, everybody. My name is Yomara. Thanks a lot for the invitation. I am industrial and environmental microbiologist, have a master degree in biotechnology and PhD in biotechnology. I would like to talk about fungi. When you hear the word fungi, what comes to mind? Historically, fungi has been labeled as disease-causing organisms or even carriers of toxic and hallucinogenic substances. But do we truly understand their full potential for humanity and the environment? I think that was a very little knowledge about this kind of fungi. What is most fascinating is in Colombia, when I am ubicated, thanks to its incredible biodiversity, harvest species of fungi have unexplored therapeutical potentials. For example, I am in Biopolymer Research Group at University of Antioquia, and we focus on isolated fungi from Colombia. They are mushrooms that have really good potential in industry, environmental sustainability, food production, and pharmaceutical and producing pharmaceutical compounds. Our research including different kind of projects of degradation of contaminants like dyes, pharmaceuticals, and plastics, and development of biomaterials that could replace
Xiomara, I'm really sorry, but we lost the communication.
isolated.
Xiomara, can you hear us?
Yes, I
We
can
lost
hear
the
you.
connection. Okay, we stopped the timer for you, of course. Can you maybe restart from 15, 20 seconds ago, please? Because we've lost the parts of your
Okay.
speech.
Could
Thank
you
you.
hear me? Could you hear
Yes.
me at the moment?
Yeah.
Okay, I continue. In my doctoral research, we work with fungi isolated from Colombia, and they grow in submerged culture like this, growing with mycelial form, forming pellets, and then in bioreactors like this. We use these fungi for isolated different kind of compounds like polysaccharides for using with anti-tumor activity, and we evaluated the biological activity in vitro and in vivo assays, determining the effects of probiotics, anti-tumor agents, immunostimulants, and immunomodulators. Different kind of species like Ganoderma, Lentinus, Schizophilum were evaluated, and these findings is a new strategy for therapeutic compounds using in different kind of treatments. Polysaccharides, for example, extracted from these fungi have these different kind of possibility for different use in combination with another kind of therapies. It's important to study fungi from Colombia, and the real question I would like to do is how can we enhance research and utilization of fungi for their applications in medicine, sustainability, and circular economy? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Also very inspiring, like how many applications research can have, and we are really excited to hear about it as well as all the other presentations. But this was also very exciting, and thank you again for joining from the lab. I also saw some arms of other people joining you, which highlights that the team is also supporting you in participating in this competition, and this makes us really happy and glad to have you here with us. Sorry, we are now trying to have Berta Cecilia Garcia Cienfuegos join us. I think she wrote in the chat that she was unable to speak, but I see. Can you speak now to just see if we can hear you?
Excuse me, Julia. Excuse me to you, understand. Excuse me, I am disabilitized because I problem with camera. Um, uh, I am Berta Garcia, titular research of National University of Tumbes. In this opportunity, I I research about gender and water. It's an honor for me to participate in this important task by Impact's region LAC, organized by the Organization of Women on Science for Development Work. I present my research attention on the gender approach in the integrated water resource management, based on report by Women 2023. While states that 308 million of women and girls live in aid water straits. Likewise, the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG, seek clean water and sanitation, the backbone of all SDGs, and the interaction between SDGs 6 and SDG 5, because there is vulnerability in the right to access to water and sanitation for women and girls. In this context, the objective of the research is shaping effective mainstreaming of the gender approach in the design of integrated water resource management policies. It was based on the plans and projects in the integrated water management of water resource on the national water resource management systems of Peru in a temporal space dimension. The analysis design is quantitative participatory action research open access source where consult interview with water resource, both male and female from urban and rural regions. In the sanitation service administrative boards, it was determined that 66% more male than female. In agriculture, from the 125 water use boards, 31.6% their members are women, and only 10% of the management positions are occupied by women. I thought in the Cusco region initiatives Spain promote projects with women regarding water sowing and harvesting and water monitoring and quality gap still persist. There is a gap related to SDG 6 and SDG 5. Definitely exists low incidence of women in decision-making models relative to water. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Berta. I'm really sorry that we had some problems having you present with your video on, and unfortunately, without the video, it didn't let us spotlight your image for everyone. But still, even just with the voice, you managed to give us a great presentation that highlights particularly two aspects that are really important: the SDG connection, which is something that we try to highlight every day more when we develop projects together with national chapters or at OWSD in general, and also this strong connection between gender, science, and development. And I think it was very relevant that you mentioned it here because it's one of the core parts of the mission of our organization. So thank you very much for joining us today. And we have two presenters that still have to present today. We have now another person from Guatemala who is going to, another scientist from Guatemala who is going to tell us about air pollution and respiratory diseases in Guatemala City, a retrospective study. She is Elvira Victoria Casasola Aldana. And I think probably the topic is going to be very relatable to those of you who live in big cities in Latin America, because Guatemala City is quite a polluted city, as other cities in Latin America are. So please tell us about your research, Elvira Victoria. We are looking forward to hearing it.
Thank you. Breathing is the essence of life, a fact we sometimes forget. According to the World Health Organization, 99% of the global population breathes polluted air. And according to the State of Global Air, air pollution is the second leading global risk factor for death. You may be surprised, but we are surrounded by a silent danger, air pollution. Our natural filter, the nose, can trap particles from 2 to 5 microns. They are so tiny that we can put 10 particles of 5 microns in the width of a single hair. So particulate matter below this size can easily be inhaled and be deposited into the lungs, where they alter lung defenses, weakening our respiratory system or passing into the bloodstream. The diseases linked to air pollution vary widely around the globe, and some of the ones that have been strongly linked include some heart and respiratory diseases and other non-communicable diseases. There is ongoing research on air pollution's role in the development of neurological diseases, chronic kidney disease, and others. Two of the most important air pollutants leading to these diseases are nitrogen dioxide and particulate matter with a diameter of 2.5 microns or below. Both pollutants mentioned are monitored here in Guatemala City, and both exceed the air quality guidelines recommended by the World Health Organization. I am a researcher at Mariano Galvez University, and we are investigating the impact of air pollution on respiratory diseases here in Guatemala City through data analysis. We collected data over an 8-year period on respiratory diseases and air pollutants to analyze them, because analyzing data has the power to give us the bigger picture of what's happening, and recognizing the problem that is causing to our city is the first step to solve it. According to the Guatemalan Ministry of Health, in Guatemala City, the first place over any other morbidity cause is common cold, which has been proven to be linked to air pollution exposure in other countries. In Guatemala, the access to healthcare is limited, and for that reason, a lot of people don't receive adequate or any treatment at all, which some cases ends up in their death. The bad news is that air pollution cannot be eradicated, but the good news is that diseases and therefore deaths caused by air pollution are preventable with a proper management of the problem. But until we have effectively enforced regulations on air quality, various sources of air pollution will continue to exist, especially due to human activity. So we all can do our part. Thank you.
No, thank you, and thank you for also closing on this hopeful note, because sometimes talking about these global issues can be a bit overwhelming, and it's good to know that we cause problems, but through science and women scientists especially, we can possibly find solutions. So that's a reminder of again the mission of this organization. So thank you very much. And now we have our last presenter. So from air pollution, we are going to talk about water pollution again. So the water and sanitation topic has been covered by some presenters already, but now we are going to see another aspect of this topic. Antonella Rivera, who is also known as the awardee from Honduras, is going to present on her research, whose title is Troubled Waters, the Hidden Impact of Coastal Pollution on the Mesoamerican Reef. Over to you, Antonella.
Thank you, Julia. So can you all help me and close your eyes and just picture that you're swimming in a gorgeous Caribbean coral reef. It's vibrant, it's teeming with life, and the water is crystal clear. You can open them now, and I bet that the reef looks a lot like my background here. But now, please take the time and imagine that this same reef is covered in algae, something like this, and it's struggling to survive. This isn't a distant future or a distant problem. This can happen now in the Mesoamerican Reef, which is the largest barrier reef in the Western Hemisphere, and it supports marine life, coastal communities, and millions who depend on it. So to address this crisis, the Coral Reef Alliance and 20 partners started the first ever regional water quality monitoring project coordinated across all the countries in 2021, where every single month we went and collected data in 90 sites, which were both in the reef and in the coast. What were the results? They were shocking. So according to the TRIX Trophic Index, 3 out of the 90 sites were not degraded. This means that almost the entire region is affected by pollution. And if we look at our findings more closely, nitrogen levels are more than twice the safe limit, making it hard for corals to grow and reproduce. Phosphorus is more than 100 times the values that they've seen in other areas in the Caribbean, fueling this algae growth. And pathogens from sewage were present in 74% of samples. 17% of those were above the safe limits according to the Cartagena Convention. And what's worse, this wasn't just found in the coastal sites. We found this on the reef, showing that what happens on land does not stay on land. And this isn't just scientific findings, it's a red flag. This crisis is not just about corals, it's about people, it's about economies, it's about livelihood. Polluted waters threaten food security because they affect the fish populations. They threaten tourism, which fuels the economy. And they even endanger public health because we found the most contaminants during the high tourist season. So what a tourist expects when they come in is something like this, but if we don't act now, what they'll find is something like this. So there's good news, I promise. And the good news is that we can solve this problem. We really can. The science is clear. Now we can, and we must act. By identifying the pollution hotspots, our research is guiding action, and we know that with stronger and holistic wastewater treatment, this trend can be reversed. So we have the data, we know the problem. Now all we need is urgent action. So if we don't act now, we're not just going to lose these amazing and beautiful reefs, but we're going to lose everything that depends on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your precious and important call to action at the end of your presentation. And I think that nowadays it's really important that we do our best to highlight these call to actions from you scientists in general, because I think we are facing problems, but we have tools and we have to listen to the people that bring us the tools to solve these problems. So thank you very much for closing this round of 10 presentations from the Latin America and the Caribbean region. We have now got to the voting time. So it's time for you, the audience, to cast your votes. So we are now going to open the poll. And please take a moment to review your notes and vote for the presenter that you believe communicated the research most effectively. That's the goal of this competition. So like, who was the most effective, who was the most engaging, who was better at highlighting the connection between their research and the global or local or regional challenges. And we are going to keep the voting open for a minute and a half about, then we can see if votes are still coming, maybe we can extend it a bit, but please try to vote as soon as possible. And don't forget that the top three presenters will move forward to the grand finale, which is going to be on the 14th of March, but we will remind you of this later. So your vote really helps to decide who is going to compete against the winners from other regions. We already have 3 winners from Africa. Next week, we are going to have winners from Asia and the Arab region. So now it's up to you to decide who from these 10 women scientists with incredible potential and research that are already amazing can compete with this science communication project. We see you back here in just a minute and a half. Okay. Mhm. Thank you very much. Now we have the results of the voting ready. I think we managed to find out who are the four. We're going to unveil the four top four, let's say, but unfortunately only the top three will go to the grand finale. But we wanted also to also unveil the fourth voted. I'm going to ask Erin to unveil the winners. So please, Erin, go on.
Thank you, Julia. So, first of all, thank you to everybody for being part of our exciting competition today for the Latin America region. That was such a wonderful showcase of research and passion, and I think that each and every presenter today demonstrated effectively how they're making a difference with science and how there are so many different approaches to solving big problems with science. So now it's time to announce the winners. So after receiving all the votes from our very engaged audience, I am pleased to announce the top four winners from today's competition. So in fourth place, we have Xiomara. A round of applause for Xiomara. And in third place, we have Arisbeth from Mexico. A round of applause for Arisbeth. In second place, we have Antonella from Honduras. Congratulations, Antonella. And in first place, we have Elvira from Guatemala. Congratulations, Elvira. Very, very well done to all of the winners. And as Julia already mentioned, I think the top three winners are going to go on to compete in the global finale competition in 2 weeks on Friday, March 14th. So a big round of applause to all of our amazing presenters again. And back to Julia.
Yes, thank you very much. Absolutely. And thank you also to our wonderful audience for being part of this event. I think this is what really makes us proud of being part of this organization, that we always have such a responding audience. And this is especially true for Latin America and the Caribbean. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for supporting the presenters today, and thank you for supporting scientists in general. And you've made this session truly special. And I hope you will join us as well for the next appointments that we have. I think Erin maybe wants to remind you about the next appointments, and I will say goodbye for now. Hasta luego, hasta pronto.
Thank you, everybody. I was trying to share the slide with the dates of the next competitions, but I wasn't able to speak and do that at the same time. So maybe Julia can share the slide. So yeah, as you mentioned, we have one more regional competition next Friday, which will be in the Asia Pacific and Arab region. It would be probably very, very early for those of you in Latin America, or maybe very late. I'm not sure actually which time. It would be 10 in the morning our time here in Italy. So I think it would be actually maybe nighttime for you. But we hope that maybe some of you can join us anyway. And then the finale competition will be Friday, March 14th, in the morning your time, if you're in Latin America, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon our time. So a couple of hours earlier than today. And that's where all of the winners, the top three winners from each of our regional competitions, will have the final face off. And I think it's going to be a really, really exciting session. We have some special judges from our partner organizations, and then we'll have an audience vote as well. And I think it will just be a really, really fun and inspiring session. So we hope to see you, if not next week, then at least for the global finale, or hopefully both. And thank you again, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye,
Bye.
Thanks
Thank
a
gracias.
you.
lot.
Bye bye. Greetings from
Bye.
Bye.